Hey guys, welcome back. Modii 101 here, and we are picking up on our story of how I got into YouTube and my channel grew and how I got to where we are now. So if you missed the last episode, it's how I got started in YouTube. Go back and watch that because it's kind of a part 2, and come back here. We'll wait for you. All right, now that they're gone. Okay, so where I last left off, I was working on Galaxies, and I was pretty much just doing solo videos. And at this point, I became friends with a guy named Fitz24. He was somebody who worked with Soul. He worked on the servers, and to me, he was a huge YouTuber. He had 1,000 subscribers. Mind you, at the time, I was probably somewhere between 50 and 100 around then. And so we started recording together. And it was really tricky back then because obviously there was no server sponsorship deals, and I sure as hell didn't have the money to pay for a server, neither did Fitz. But, you know, we pieced it together and we made it work, and we started recording together. And started having a lot of fun. It was the first kind of collabs I had done since the Too Low Gaming group. But he had his own channel. He had already been making videos, and we had a lot of fun, and we clicked with each other well, and it went pretty well. So did that for a while, kept doing the solo stuff, and then right around this time, we had big, kind of pretty big change up when it came to the servers. The first big change up, actually, I think was technically when we went from Bacon to Galaxy, is when Husky came on, and shortly after that, because Husky was friends with Sky Does Minecraft, he had talked to Soul, who was running the whole thing, and said, "Hey, I've got a friend who has a server. It's not doing bad, it's not doing great, but maybe if you guys collaborated together," and at this point he had come on board with Galaxy, so it was Sky and Husky for a short while, and you know, bring them on. They have experience, you know, they can help run it and stuff. So they brought them on, and the person who ran that server was someone named Era's Rain, that you guys probably know better as Patty. So Patty came on, and pretty much Husky, Sky, Soul, and Patty were kind of the owners of Galaxies. And she had a crew with a bunch of people that were in there that came on. And then he also, even though, you know, we were his build team, we weren't that great. But we were pretty loyal to the server, and we had taken on a little bit more of an administrative role as head admins. And so they came on. So Soul had actually went and got a build team. I don't remember what they were called. But a couple of people from that build team, and there was a whole headache with that I don't feel like going into. But there was a couple people with that ended up, even after kind of a falling out between that build team and our server, stuck around with us. It was 2 Australian people. One of them was named Snaz. And then one of them was a lady named Lynn. So Lynn Telfer. Anybody who's been around for a long time, you guys know that Lynn was an early member of the squad. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. So at this point, got to know Patty, got to know Lynn, was friends with Fitz. And then one night, myself and Snaz and Fitz, and I think it was just us 3, we're hanging out on Skype, just chit-chatting in kind of this big group call. And it was pretty late. It was like 11, 12 o'clock at night. And we were just hanging out, BSing, you know, running around the server, not doing anything. You wonder where I get my running around in servers while talking thing? It's from hanging out on servers and not having anything to do. And then out of nowhere, Husky pops in. Now, we had talked to Husky a couple of times. He'd kind of popped into chats and been like, "Hey, you guys are doing a great job, making the server look great. Okay, bye." You know, very... You know, and it was always to a big group. And, but he popped in, I guess he was bored. And probably for about 2 hours, the 4 of us just hung out and BS'd and chit-chatted. I believe that Husky liked that none of us were super like fangirly at all about it. But admittedly, myself and Fitz did ask him, just some kind of questions, some tips and tricks and whatnot for YouTube stuff, and it was really cool. And we had fun, and we made jokes, and we just screwed around, and it was just a bunch of people hanging out. It was no big deal. So that was pretty cool. And like I said, I was pretty much just recording with Fitz and solos. And one day I was sitting in, it was a day or two later, I'm sitting in that same call, because it was kind of like the owner / head admin / build team Skype call, and there was pretty much someone always in there. There was always people hanging out in that call for days. And I remember sitting there, and I don't remember who was in the call, but I was just kind of hanging out, and then Husky popped in, and he goes, "Hey, Modii," and I'm like, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" He goes, "Hey, do you think you want to record a prison series with me?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah, that's okay." Trying to play it cool. I mean, I knew being in a video with him was going to get exposure. And he goes, "You think Fitz would want to be in it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure he would." So he was like, "All right, cool, I'll let you know." And he disappeared. And Fitz was in school at the time. I think he was freshman in college, I believe. And so I kind of had to wait until he kind of was around. He generally wasn't around during weekdays because, he was in school. And so I get into a call with Fitz, just a one-on-one call. And I'm like, Husky asked if we want to do a prison series with him. And we both kind of got real giddy. Like, we understood what that could mean for our channels. And at this point, I would love to have my channel be something, but I was realistic. I figured it was just to be something I would do until I got bored with one day or started getting busy and tapered off, and the channel would go away. It was just a hobby, something to do. So at the original time, Husky was working with another server owner because he worked with a couple of them. And we go on, we record a couple of episodes, and about a day or two before they're supposed to go out, Husky messages me at like midnight. He's like, "Hey, you didn't post those videos yet?" I'm like, no. He's like, "Cool, get a new call." So we get in a call, and apparently he had a falling out with that other server thing. That's a whole nother story that's not my place to tell. And he says, basically, we can't post those videos. And, I messaged Fitz, and he jumped in the call, and we were both pretty disappointed, but we tried to play it out because we kind of thought that was the opportunity that was now gone. And that, we worked on the videos, we were really excited to see what would happen, and they kind of just dematerialized. Well, in that conversation, out of kind of weird spite for this deal falling through, us four kind of sat there, and Soul was there as well. And basically, in about an hour or two of talking, Soul built a second server, a second public server, coding, all the stuff. He had some maps that were for some other things that he threw in there, some generated worlds, and that was the launch of something called Overpowered MC, or OPMC. And on there was prisons. So now that we had our own prison server, and this was kind of a sister server to Galaxy. I think you could actually go on Galaxy, go through a hub, and it would take you to Overpowered and vice versa. But they were technically two different servers. On this one, Sky was not, and Patty was not owners of this that I can remember. It was just Soul and Husky. So yeah, we started, we recorded again. He was down for it, so of course Fitz and I were excited for it. We recorded a couple of prison episodes now in OPMC, so it was great because not only now were we recording with like a pretty well-known YouTuber, Minecraft YouTuber, but we were now promoting the server we worked on as opposed to just some dude's server. So in hindsight, it worked out way better, and I'm kind of glad the deal fell through with the other guys. So we started, got those recordings out, and it really it helped my channel. It helped Fitz's channel. Fitz was pretty stagnant, about 1,000. I want to say I was in the low 100s, about 130 at this point. And the video comes out, and there's just an initial jump. Mind you, at the time, if I got a new subscriber a day, it was a banner day. And at this point, I was starting to kind of get up there. I hit 1,000 in a couple weeks. Like, I don't even know, it might have been a week after a couple of videos. And I know Fitz jumped up to about 3,000. So we only did a handful of episodes on that. I want to say there was about 10 of them. And, you know, it started to become better friends with Patty and with Lynn and Fitz and Snaz and Husky. And there was another guy that I think Fitz knew named Mini Muka, who was hanging out with us as well. And we'd done some mini game videos and stuff together. And yeah, I mean, things were kind of rolling. And then after that, really when, like I said, it was a very limited series we were going to do because it was really just promoting the server, and it was bringing people on. All of a sudden, Overpowered MC was getting more people on it than Galaxies. There were some Galaxy holdouts that pretty much just played on there, but everybody was playing on, you know, Overpowered. It was kind of cool because new people would come on. And this was my first little brush with, like, what I would consider a fan. People would come on Overpowered for the first time. They had never been on there. And they get on and see what I was on and say hi. And that was weird because I was kind of used to people getting on the server and being regulars, and they kind of get to know all the staff, which I was a part of. And then eventually, you know, they would, you know, but with this, it was like, hey, I saw your guys' video on, you know, hey, it's nice to meet you. And it was the first time, and I got a little weirded out, but like excited, but didn't want to get too excited. It was super weird. So I'm still really weirded out by that whole thing. So anyways, so when that series was over, there's really only so much you could do on Prisons. I mean, as a YouTube series. And because most of it's just grind work. That's what the whole thing's about. And so there was a couple other games on there. I had done some of my early streams on there that was more promoting the server and whatnot. And, you know, I did with Fitz and Soul and stuff like that. And then Husky had said, hey, you know, I had fun. Do you want to do maybe a mod pack, like a series? And I was like, yeah, sure, because that's what I was doing. He was somewhat doing it too. He was more of a mini game guy with Team Crafted and those guys. But I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds awesome. So the only bad thing was he kind of wanted to make it a two-person thing, which I felt really bad about because, you know, he was like, I love Fitz. Fitz is hilarious, but we just kind of gel a little bit more. And I was like, all right. Plus, Fitz was going to school full time, and most of the time when we record was during weekdays. So that was another issue because it was harder to record at night. So, so yeah, we started doing early stuff. I don't even remember what we did. I don't remember any of the series. I don't remember what the first one was. We started recording there, and my channel started to grow. Now, I felt really bad because eventually my channel surpassed Fitz. And he was really kind of my first mentor. He was kind of the first guy, which is funny because the kid's like 15, 20 years younger than me. I'm 42. He's like 25 now or something like that. I have nieces and nephews that are older than Fitz, right? My kids are closer in age of Fitz than I am. But he was somebody who really helped me out with a lot of things and answered a lot of questions when it came to YouTube early on. And Fitz really focused on school, and he kind of got a little bit burned out of the whole YouTube thing. So in these early days, my job on OPMC was, you know, when I wasn't recording stuff, because I was just on the computer all the time. At this point, I was single, had my own place with my daughters. They were in school. I drove an ice cream truck, so I had very short hours, only a few days a week, just trying to make ends meet. Money was insanely tight. Like one of those, do I pay the electric bill or do I buy groceries type of scenarios, like every month. And but I worked on the server, and my job was pretty much I did hiring and training and firing of mods, people that would come on and want to help out and be part of the server, pretty much unpaid volunteer staff. If you've ever been on a public server, you know mods and admins and all that stuff. And I don't remember who was first, and I did a lot, but I remember there was one guy that anytime he would get on, he was actually super helpful. If anybody would ask in the in-game chat, like, how do I do this or how do I do that, he would help them out. He was super helpful. If there was somebody, you know, screaming in caps or trying to use profanity or whatever, he would kind of step in and basically be like, okay, settle down, settle down. So yeah, this guy would just basically, he was really good with people. So I messaged him, and usually, now mind you, most of the people on these servers were pretty younger. They were, 12 to 15. And kind of keep that in mind for some of the stories a little later on. It was generally dealing with kids that were about my daughter's ages at the time. And so usually if I ever went to anybody, it was like, hey, buddy, you want to be a mod? You seem pretty helpful. They were super excited. They were super stoked. They had to be somebody that I had seen around relatively often and quite a bit. And they were super excited. They're like, yeah, what do I do? Da, 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 da. And so I messaged this guy, and I'm like, hey, do you want to be a mod? And he's like, no, I'm good. I'm like, well, that's weird, because he was on there quite often. And I'm like, are you sure? You're super helpful. We could really use your help, da, da, da. No, I'm pretty busy. So I reached out to Patty, and I'm like, there's this guy that, I think would be super helpful, but he doesn't even want to talk about it. So she kind of jumped in with me, and we were like, hey, dude, why don't you jump in a call with us? Let us chit-chat. He was like, okay, fine. So we get in a call with him, and we're basically like, hey, do you, you're super helpful. You can help out. There's some perks. You get this or that. I don't remember what the perks were. But yeah, you can give us a hand, and that way, you don't have to be on a certain amount of hours. You don't have to be on at certain times. Just when you're on, just do what you were doing, but just have more abilities. Have more the ability to mute someone or kick someone from the server. Not necessarily ban them, but that kind of stuff. So finally he came around, and I was like, awesome. Welcome to the server, Snoop787. And that's how I met Snoop. It was in that first call with Patty, basically bullying him into being a mod for us. So he was a mod, and he hung out, and then around the same time, there was a girl that was being, pretty vocal, pretty helpful. We started to recognize her name, and we kind of reached out to her, and she jumped on it. She was 100% down for it. And her in-game name was RSD Angel on Fire. Most of you guys probably know her as Krista. And so, yeah, they became mods, and pretty quickly on, and this is always something that amuses me, and you're gonna find a repetition in some of this. After a while, so basically we had mods, we had admins, which of course there was a lot more mods than admins, and mods were just kind of there to kind of keep the peace. Admins had a little bit more power, and then there was head admins, and also in that was like the owners and the build team and stuff, but the head admins was pretty much the highest kind of tier. So I remember we were doing some big launch, and Snoop was on the server, and there was a lot of people on there hanging out in the lobby waiting for some new game mode to open. And once again, he was being super helpful, and he was being, he was kind of helping with crowd control and whatnot. And so I in a classic Modii Snoop kind of way, and mind you, other than that one call, at this point I was never in calls with mods or admins, just the calls with the head admins and owners. And I was in text chats, but not calls. And so I made him an admin. I didn't even ask. I just made him an admin, and I was like, hey, Snoop. And then when he answered me, hey, Modii, it said admin Snoop787. And he was not happy. And that made me happier. So if you want to ask what the foundation of Snoop and I's relationship, I think it started then. So yeah, moved up to an admin, and then Krista, kind of the same thing, but she was more gung-ho about it. Snoop was a lot more resistant to the whole thing. And then eventually kind of the same thing. We made him a hat admin, we added him to the call. He just kind of went with it, and same thing with Krista. So in these early days, it was hanging out in the call. It was Soul and Husky, and there's going to be people I forget. But Fitz, me, Patty, Lynn, Snaz, Snoop, Krista, Mini Mooka, and then some other people that really didn't end up being connected to this whole story. And really, if you think about it, at that time, Husky, myself, Fitz, and Minnie were the only ones there that were really recording. But at this point, Lynn had started to dabble in it. Krista had started to dabble in it. Snoop, once again, had no interest in it because he didn't have time. He didn't have interest. We'll see. Well, you know. And, yeah, but I would say that to me was basically the early foundation. That would be the beginning of the squad. Yeah, so I think we'll leave it there for today. So at this point, the foundation of early members of the squad are there. We didn't have a name. Most of us weren't recording. But in the next episode, we will definitely delve into the next phase of really the birth of the squad. Right now, we're just in kind of embryo fetus stage. But we'll get to the birth of the squad, and you're going to start to catch a couple more names. Also, NJ was in there. He was still kind of in and out of the situation. So yeah. Let me know what you guys think. I've always thought these stories about the kind of beginnings of the squad were always kind of interesting. And we still have quite a ways to go. There is some parts that are going to be pretty skippable because things just kind of become business as usual, so there's not many big events, but I'm going to try and do my best to kind of cover, by the end of this series, I want you guys to at least heard of everybody who's in the squad, the ones who've come and gone, things that have happened, changes that have happened, relationships that have happened, friendships that have happened, and all that stuff. So it'll get fun. It'll get a little gritty here and there. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, help us make this channel grow. Heather and I are loving this so much, and with your guys' help, we can make this grow. And click that bell so you get notified when our videos come out. We don't have daily videos, so that way, it's a lot easier to kind of forget when something's coming out, so click that bell for that. Go check out our Patreon. We are really starting to build up. We're hoping to be able to get like a really nice vlogging cameras in the not too distant future. And if you want to help with that by support us, you can do that. Plus you get some pretty cool little bonuses. Yeah, go check out Pinky and the Beard Spreadshirt shop. So not a whole lot in there then, but that also helps support getting better equipment for the stream. So once again, hope you guys are enjoying this. Hope you're going to stick around. I'm excited to tell this story, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.